What is going on, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It's Saturday, November 2nd. We are fresh off of Crown Jewel. We had two title versus title matches, a sweet card. We're going to break the whole thing down for everybody. I'm stoked. It's 1:30 and we already got 3+ hours of wrestling. Not much better than that. I've got a sweet crew for Saturday hanging out with me. We've got the 30s club. Sorry, normally you don't do age, but I'm just saying at WR, we've got it today and I'm stoked about it. First and foremost, I got to send this out. We have the GOAT herself in New York City. Megan, what is going on? Happy Saturday.
Hey, happy Saturday. Happy Crown Jewel Day. Disappointed because out of 7 matches, I only predicted 2 of them right. But I guess we'll get into which ones I got right. But just happy to be here as always.
It was one of those cards, by the way, that was not easy to predict, right? Like, I got to give you credit there. This is one of the most difficult ones, I think, for sure. Lord Virus of Nurgle's already in the comments. He's like, this was kind of a mixed bag for Crown Jewel. Yes, absolutely. We're going to get into that. And then Zilla Widow 23567 says, hello, what's going on? Someone said Clark's back or something like that. Thank you. We'll take it. Shad with hi Megan already in the comments. Liv Morgan is Michael Jordan from Sean when it comes to the Saudi shows. That may be the comment of the day, Shad. That's pretty funny. Did you get that fly, Ignacio? I'm introducing you next just because of that out in Texas. We got Ignacio. Did you just Bruce Lee that fly?
No, I'm clapping at my cat. She's on the counter.
It got me so good. Welcome back to the show. Love it. Cat run in. Happy Saturday. Did you enjoy Crown Jewel?
Wasn't my favorite. I don't think it was much of a jewel, but there were some things I enjoyed and I liked. So we'll talk about that. And happy to drink here. And so let's get to it. Who else we need to introduce here? Did you introduce Anthony already?
We got one more out in Philadelphia. Okay. Head of opinions, Anthony Ricciardi. What's going on?
I'm doing all right. It's the first show daily I'm doing this week when I'm without the El Generico mask on. There is a certain irony whenever I get to review a Saudi show, because Clark will remember this because he was part of the original crew. The very first post show we did, I believe, was a Saudi show, if I'm not mistaken.
That is absolutely correct.
And with this crew that knows what a VHS is, it's always fun to cover something like this.
By the way, I want to add something, is that this isn't the 30s crew because I'm 40.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. Well, I was trying to time machine you backwards.
Yeah, well, I'll go a little bit further back, I guess.
Either or.
I mean, me and Anthony, we like literally knocking on the door. Right?
I'm knocking on that door.
I'm getting nervous by the minute myself about it, but
Clark's feeling older just being on the show.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've been bald for 10 years. It's like I'm already 40.
We can bully him. That's okay. We can bully Clark a little bit.
I will say, by the way, that was a valiant effort in the El Generico mask on the show, Anthony. The whole time, all I could think was like, that has to be so hot.
Clark messaged for a little behind the scenes. Clark messaged me and going, "Are you really going to do the whole show with the mask?" And I'm like, "I think I can."
He did.
So funny. He did. He pulled it off. I respect it.
It was ripped off immediately after.
Clark doesn't know how to count. It's all right. It's true. I gave up math years ago. I've never gone back. Can't stand math. I cannot stand math. It took a heck of a lot of tutoring for me to pass it in college.
Solo Sokoa level of hate towards math.
Can't stand math. It's brutal. Once we got past like X plus 1, I was in trouble.
Why are we solving for X? Let him solve his own problems.
I'm like, I don't understand. He's got his own stuff going on. But we've got Bloodline versus Bloodline. It's Bloodline on Bloodline crime. I was excited about this one going in. Little bit of a funky clunky match here. There's a lot going on. And I love seeing Sami Zayn. And I liked the idea behind the 4 corner spot and the way it went down. I felt like I lost a degree of believability that Jimmy and Jay weren't obviously there to see. It was an accident when he caught him with the haluva kick. Obviously, that's only the second craziest part about this to me, though.
Mm-hmm.
Solo Sikoa pinned Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm.
We do not see that often. So it's not all bad. I didn't hate the match. I didn't love it either. I think when it comes to the Sammy part of the storyline, I don't hate that there's more to it. But it would have been nice to see something that made a little bit more sense when it came to the direction for Sami Zayn, at least in my eyes. Megan, I'm going to go to you first. What were your thoughts on this one? And more importantly, are we still looking at the same sort of War Games prediction as far as Survivor Series concerned, with Sammy rejoining the original bloodline?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like what you and a lot of people have said. There was something about the match that seemed a little off. The timing was off. But I already suspected that there was going to be some type of conflict between Roman and Jay because they haven't necessarily mulled over the issues. And we kind of saw the faces that Roman was making when Jay was coming through the crowd. You saw how Jay kind of passed up on tagging Roman in and tagged Jimmy instead. So there is definitely still some frictions between them two. It was very light. It was very light and during the match, but you could still read the room. I mean, if I'm gonna be honest, I never doubted Sammy. Unlike some people, I never doubted Sammy. I knew that Sammy was still going to come to Jade's aid. Even if he doesn't really mess with Jimmy and Roman, he was still going to come to the aid of his friend Jay. So, anybody who could really see saw that it was an accident, but him talking to Solo did not help the week before. So, I'm looking forward to Survivor Series War Games. I'm sure Sammy is going to be a part of it. But that's 4. Is there going to be additional members on each side? I don't know. 5 and 5, the numbers are still looking pretty good, but they only have about 3 weeks before Survivor Series. So let's see how this plays out. But I didn't necessarily like the ending to this match. And of course I did root for the original bloodline to win and they didn't. So.
Right. Yeah, that was I actually didn't have a problem with the result because to your point, when it comes to that, like I was rooting for the original bloodline, but at the end of the day, if we are still working towards that Survivor Series War Games, it's really hard to justify the idea of the new bloodline beating the original bloodline if they don't have this win in this one. So from that perspective, that's where I think that one was like, I'm okay with it. But the finish itself, I was a little unsure of the way. I mean, I will say it did have that a little bit of like the suck the air out of the room moment when you're like, whoa, he didn't just pin one of the guys on the team. He pinned Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Like that was to me arguably the biggest moment of the match because there was kind of like even a silence in the arena. It felt like for a second, it was like, wait, did he really actually count 3?
Yeah, because one of the boys, they did predict it yesterday. I can't remember if it was Ben or if it was Jordy, but one of them two did predict that Solo was going to pin
Roman. It is also interesting. It's basically Solo, Jay, and Cody is the list, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the list on people that have paid Roman. That's fascinating to me.
Paid Roman?
Pinned Roman. Yeah. have been paid for pinning Roman. That's what I meant. Sorry. I was thinking about, revenue streams and stuff.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Either way. Yeah. That was my financial brain working. This is why I hate math. Either way, let's go to you next, Ignacio. When it comes to this, we got War Games coming up. We've got all kinds of different options when it comes to this storyline. Yeah. Megan made a great point also about 5-on-5 looks a little bit more difficult than 4-on-4. Do you see this as 4-4? Do you see this as 5-5? Do you see it as a sure thing that Sami Zayn joins the original bloodline once again? How do you feel like it goes down on the road there? And then also your opinion on the match itself.
Well, first of all, what are they going to do next for these Saudi shows? Because, you mentioned it before the show. Is like, well, they got these 2 belts that the champions can't take home. We've had a Jumbo Royal Rumble. We've had Shawn Michaels sell his soul to the Saudis for $3 million for one night, and was probably the worst tag team match that has ever been in history with 4 Hall of Famers. My question is, what are they going to do next for the Saudis? It gets more interesting every show. But although King and Queen of the Ring kind of worked in their favor, so they're not all total disasters.
That's a good point.
Anyway, it's just this match. It's not, it's all storytelling. That's all it is. Just furthering the story. It wasn't meant to be, 5 stars, 27 stars in the Tokyo Dome level, level match. It's just storytelling. Now you're thinking, well, is it going to be 5-on-5 or 4-on-4? And if it is going to be 5-on-5, they're going to go with the traditional War Games match. Who's going to join the original bloodline? Who's going to join Solo's bloodline? Is Hikuleo finally going to come in? Who's going to join Sammy and that crew? Roman and that crew. Are they going to bring Cody in? Blah, blah, blah. It's just all just furthering the story. That's all it is. It wasn't meant to be a great match. It wasn't a great match. It's just the storytelling was good. Now there's, Solo pinned Roman. Jey Uso and Roman still have attention. It's just furthering the story. I thought as far as storytelling standpoint, it did its job. It was good work. I mean, I liked it. I liked the storytelling aspect of it. It wasn't meant to be a great wrestling match, and it wasn't. It was just meant to be furthering the story. That way we can watch what's going to happen next on Raw, what's going to happen next on SmackDown, what's going to happen next on, NXT, whatever. It's just, you got to watch the shows to keep up with the story. And the whole time that this bloodline storyline, since its inception in 2020, it's all been what's going to lead up to the end of that part of the story, that chapter. Jey Uso and Roman Reigns' chapter, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns' chapter, Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns' chapter. What's going to lead to the end of that chapter of the whole story? That's what they accomplished here. What's going to lead to the end of the next chapter?
I think that's a great call. That's a great call. I will say you cracked me up on the Tokyo Dome comment.
Well, if it was in the Tokyo Dome, it would have been 27.5 stars.
I had breakfast with Carter this morning.
Oh.
And it was so funny because he just came by my house. We grabbed a couple breakfast burritos, classic. Good old Saturday morning. And we're watching the pre-show, and he just looks up, and I've not laughed this hard in a long time. And he just goes, "Could you imagine if this was in the Tokyo Dome?" I just out of the dead clear blue, and I was like, sorry, you got me good on that one. I'm like, well, no, it's just so ridiculous. It's the Saudi Arabia show. Like Tokyo is not. That's a different place. It's such an absurd line.
He did. Obviously, he took geography twice.
Yeah, he was like, could you imagine if they had this one in the Tokyo Dome? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah. Either way, yeah, I agree with you. As far as storyline advancement, that's where this shined the most, and it does leave a lot of like open-ended questions headed to SmackDown, which I enjoy. Right? It's something to look forward to that does seem still unpredictable. I think the execution was a little clunky. That would be like my opinion on it when it comes to how they went about all of it. But at the end of the day, it is getting us to a place where we're looking at a better payoff. We also have Bobby Bettino in the comments. He doesn't like math either. See, it's not just me. But speaking of math, we do have one more when it comes to this subject, and that is our head of opinions, Anthony Ricciardi. I got to ask you about it, especially we've talked a lot about the idea of war games and the 4-on-4 or the 5-on-5. If it were 5-on-5, do you have an idea? Or are you so like it's pretty locked in on 4-on-4? And then also your thoughts as far as the execution was concerned, like we've kind of talked about here.
I think it should be the 4-on-4 original against the new bloodline. But if there was a fifth, it's probably Cody and maybe either Hikuleo or Owens on the other side would be my guess if they really went 5-on-5. I mean, the other possibility would be Rock if Rock really wanted to wrestle in a War Games on the Savage line side. I thought the match was okay the way it was. I didn't expect much. It was kind of underwhelming. Again, they're trying to force the Solo Sikoa thing as a legit guy. They had him dominate Cena. Now they had him dominate Roman to try to make him a guy. I am of the mentality opposite of his father, Rikishi. Rikishi thinks he should be a world champion already. I don't think he's that good. I don't think he's the guy. I don't think he's going to be the guy. Jacob Fatu's the guy. If there is a guy in there, it's Jacob. As far as the whole Sammy thing, part of me thinks it was a little rushed because we just saw him having the conversation in the parking lot. But I get why they stuck him out there because it's Saudi and Saudi loves Sammy. So I get why they stuck him out there and why they did it when they did it. Was it the cleanest way for the accidental thing? No, but at the same point, everything's on tape anyway. They can see it other ways other than watching it live while they're in the ring. The aspect of it to me that I can kind of give it a sort of pass is the whole bloodline has always been mafia-esque. And with the mafia, you don't know who you could trust because your friend today could be your enemy tomorrow. So they don't know what the conversation was with Solo and Sammy. Is he a double agent? Do they trust him? As Jay told them on Raw, you're not family. You're not Oos. So, there's that aspect to it. Ultimately, I do think it's going to be the true OG bloodline being led by Paul Heyman because I think that'll be a part of it. He'll probably be the one that puts them all together against Solo's crew. I think that's where it's ultimately headed for War Games. What role The Rock plays in all of this leading into Mania, we'll have to wait and see.
I am so glad that you mentioned Paul Heyman as like a buzzer beater on this topic.
Mm-hmm.
We went this whole time without mentioning him.
Mm-hmm.
His return will be as impactful as anything in this storyline.
He will be the invisible hand
that puts that up together perfectly. Like they need the wise man. The idea that Paul Heyman can be a babyface outside of the context of the ECW one night stands and the ECW leadership that he had way back in the day in today's day and age shows how great the heel work was for the last decade and a half. It's one of the most impressive things.
One last thing.
The idea that we are chomping at the bit for a guy that we know only talks.
There is one last thing of this because I think Paul's going to be the invisible hand that puts them all back together. Remember the entrances on the show. Jay had his own entrance. Now, granted, it was for the Yeet stuff, but still, they're probably going to come out as one unit probably when Paul brings them back.
So one more thing before we finally move on to the next match. I know Chad commented here, Jey Uso is over, and I know you were asking me, Ignacio, for a minute to talk about Jey Uso. What are your thoughts on Jay?
You're on mute.
Muted. That's my fault.
Yeah. It's just like, that's why I was kind of disappointed that they drug Jay into this, because you almost have to if you're going to do War Games and continue the Bloodline storyline. And I get that, but it's just like he finally gets some momentum becoming IC champion and then actually doing something with him to forward his career, his storyline. And then you take it away because you want him back in this scenario. Bro, nobody has the crowd like Jey Uso right now. They're working really hard, I think, to make Damian Priest the face of Raw. And it's just like somebody doesn't turn around. I'm pretty sure somebody has turned around in creative meetings and be like, are you kidding me? Like, we got this guy that he doesn't need to do a great promo. He doesn't need to talk much. He doesn't have to have great matches. And he's got the crowd in the palm of his hand. He can do anything. And the crowd's going to be with him. If Jey Uso doesn't win the Royal Rumble in 2025, I don't know who they're going to push or who is, because it's just so easy just to go with him because he literally has the kind of like the LA Knight had it, but I think Jey Uso has more of a connection with the crowd.
It is so interesting
for them not to capitalize on that and say he can't be the guy. I think it's wrong. I think he can be the guy. They just need to go with him.
He's more of the,
I think it's natural.
I agree. I agree with Ignacio. He's more of the guy than Solo Sikoa is.
I think it's fascinating too. Like, I'm still slightly thrown off by seeing both Usos in the ring, not in matching gear. Like, it's like my brain's not used to it yet, and that's no like knock on either one.
Yeah.
But like how Jay has ascended in relation to Jimmy, like I think is like there needs to be some sort of study on that because I don't fully understand it. But like you said, Ignacio, there's like an it factor charismatically about Jay on this run he's currently on. Yeah. He's got the audience in the palm of his hand like putty. It's no problem. And it's really impressive, especially because, and I was stunned at this, by the way, to open the show, Jimmy and Roman make their entrance and then Jay.
Mm-hmm.
I was blown away by the fact that happened. It blew my mind.
The people want it. They want him. They want to be near him because he comes to the crowd. They want to be a part of that aura. And for them not to capitalize on that, it's just, that's what I'm saying. Like, he would be my pick to win the Royal Rumble. He is my pick to win the Royal Rumble. He should do it.
It's underrated, but there was that one shot when Jay was doing the yeet and Roman was looking at it. I thought that was a great shot right there.
That's production. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Let's move on to our next topic, though, because we could talk about the bloodline for the whole show practically, but we had I enjoyed this match. It was one that I thought it exceeded expectations. It was less than predictable, but Bianca and Jade get the victory. It's the Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag Team match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Chelsea Green. Oh man, is she good. Some of those just the entertainment value of Chelsea's actions in this one had me rolling laughing at times and were brilliant. Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson are not to be messed with. Talk about proving yourselves on a huge stage. Both stood out. Like, stood out as far as execution, everything, being a team. I loved it. I thought often during this match that was the direction that it was going, was that the metaphor team, Lash Legend and Jakara, were going to get the victory. Doesn't end up being that way. That's not even to go without saying. I mean, Io Sky and Kairi Sane can paint a picture like, they're the Picassos of the sky, right? We've seen Genius of the Sky. It's no joke. This was a really, really cool match, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the most underrated matches on the card because of card placement and whatnot, but it was really well done top to bottom. We still have the strongest tag team in all of wrestling when it comes to Bianca and Jade carrying those titles. When it comes to star power, these are two single stars that are in a tag run, and it's interesting to me because I thought this was an opportunity to sort of kickstart singles runs, but it seems like that's not the case right this second. As a team, I don't know that I'm super looking forward to them turning on each other. But if it happens, talk about a Clash of Titans. Megan, I'm going to ask you about it.
I am.
Crazy match. Are you looking forward to them turning on each other? And which one do you favor, by the way? How about, let's go with that.
Okay, well, this was actually one of the 5 matches that I got wrong. Because I really thought Chelsea and Piper was going to win the titles, and it's kind of funny because Bianca and Jade is on right now, and I'm trying not to weave off of it. But I think, there's going to be a point when they're going to lose the titles, and who is going to turn on who? I don't know, because it reminds me of an interview that a former WWE superstar had recently, and he shared that he wanted Bianca to join his his um his group at the time, the Pride, and it just wouldn't have been a good fit for her because she's she's a face, you know. So if there was to be one turning on the other, I think it would be Jade turning on Bianca. But that's somewhere in the future. Right now, I thought it was a good match. I thought it was a really great match. Let's not forget the fact that you do outside of this 4 group tag match, you still have these 4 women of color, 4 black women, doing the damn thing in this match. And it wasn't the rematch that I wanted between Bianca and Jade and Jakara and Lash, but it did what it was supposed to do. And unfortunately, they didn't win. Maybe they'll get another title shot sometime in the future, but right now Bianca and Jade proved to be more superior. And I'm not upset by the results.
I'm with you there because, and I like that you said Jade turning on Bianca because, in AEW at the end of that run, not the end of it, basically the whole time, she called herself, I didn't coin this phrase, but that B word.
Mm-hmm.
And if that B word comes out, that rivalry with Bianca is off the charts, right? Like that character on the microphone tore people down, and she had Stokely Hathaway next to her also tearing people down, right? Like Smart Mark Sterling, those type of stuff from her AEW run that I remember. The heel work is off the charts when it comes to Jade Cargill. And I know that there's been whispers about Bianca potentially being a heel because we saw her execute it pretty dang well in NXT. But I do think Bianca's at a stage of her career where she's almost too beloved by especially the younger generation. To pull that rug out from under, right? Like I would now don't get me wrong,
they don't have anybody to replace they don't have anybody to replace her at this given point. So yeah.
Entertainment standpoint, as an adult, I would be blown away by it. Like I would love to see Bianca just turn and be like sadistic, just to see what she could do inside of those pretenses. But
I would like that, but I don't know. I feel like she has the same fear that Cody has. Cody doesn't necessarily want to be heel because he cares too much about what the WWE universe and how they will react. They have children that look up to them, and once you turn heel, you have to like smack the child's hand out the way, like you can't be that. And we saw a little bit of that in NXT for Bianca, but we haven't seen it since she has risen to the point of popularity that she is now. So it would have a different effect.
That's one of the things Cena said. I think he didn't want to turn heel because of the Make-A-Wish stuff. And for Bianca and Cody, it's probably along the same lines with the love of the fans type deal.
But you know what? But despite that, Roman still did it. Roman still
correct.
did the Make-A-Wish and stuff. And you still can. Like, you can separate you from the character.
Absolutely.
But I mean, we always knew that Triple H kind of built Bianca to be in the female John Cena, and we see that, that is who she is.
And I see a lot of John Cena, but one thing I will say that I think separates Bianca when it comes to her and Cena is Cena started obviously as a heel as well, right? And then turned, they tried the babyface thing, like the
prototype. Yeah.
Then it was heel, right? Dr. Thugonomics. And then it built into a babyface. I think what's unique about Bianca is, as far as the main roster audience is concerned, people kind of forget the NXT heel thing. She's always been that baby face.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I do think that is unique because you don't see it often. I mean, Cody Rhodes played 4 different iterations of heels on the way to being this version of
dashing Cody.
Like,
yes.
yeah, like I mean, yeah, he was painting stars on his face at one stage.
Stardust, yes,
if I remember correctly. I'm kidding. Okay, we gotta roll. We gotta roll on to the next topic.
I will roll.
We'll be quick. We've got Seth freaking Rollins against Bronson Reed in what I thought should have been the squash they teased it to be out of the gates.
Yeah,
didn't end up being that. I get that he gets the win. Bronson still looks strong with the blood on his face and whatnot, but why don't we have Bronson Reed go over here? I don't understand that, Anthony. Explain.
I think the reason they didn't have Bronson go over, and to me, I would agree with you. I think Bronson should have won with a squash, but I think they are going to drag this out. I don't believe it's going to be a one and done, considering all their fights backstage in the parking lot. I have a feeling that's the direction it's going to go with this. The reason I think they had a definitive winner was because they were already going the same route later on in the night with Orton and Owens, which we'll get into. But I thought it was a hard-hitting match. I thought it was competitive. And Seth won in a way that still protected Bronson because he won with a super curb stomp as opposed to a regular one. So I think it protected Bronson, but this is going to continue. Overall in this feud, I think Bronson needs to win it. It would mean more to him. Rollins is Teflon. Rollins could lose every feud and it doesn't matter because he's already a made guy, but I think it would mean a lot more to Bronson.
I think that's so spot on. That's exactly my thoughts on it, by the way. And if you don't mind, let's move on to our next topic. That way we can save ourselves some time for some good stuff later because we've got more. So we did have our next one. We've got Nia Jax, Queen of the Ring, against Liv Morgan for the South Dynamite Diamond Ring. I'm kidding. The Crown Jewel Championship. But I'm just saying it happened. A lot of funk. Raquel Rodriguez involved. Ignacio, obviously near and dear to your hometown. Gotta love Rocky, an absolute legend. But Tiffany Stratton also involved. A lot of teases at cashing in. I was confused on this. So if she cashes in during the match, it's a triple threat match. All of a sudden, is she cashing in for the Crown Jewel title? Like, or is she cashing in for one of the belts or both of the belts? Or like, how does that? Because that would have been difficult to explain. I like the idea of using the briefcase, but which title? Like, does she have to declare it when she cashes in? Okay, wait a minute. Now all of a sudden it's a match for the Crown Jewel Championship, and there's a side match. I don't know where you go with that if it gets beyond if at least Raquel's not there to grab the briefcase. Ignacio, I'm going to go to you to ask you about it. Like, that was my biggest issue with this match because I think both Liv Morgan and Nia Jax are great wrestlers and they can put on a great show, but there was just too much shenanigans that didn't add up.
Too much gaga, as Pat Patterson would say, and he probably would have booked it. But I mean, yeah, it's just this wasn't a great match by all means. It wasn't their best they can do, or maybe it's because contrasting styles wasn't where they did the best they could, but Liv's still really good. But I just don't buy Tiffany Stratton in this role. You're making me hard to believe that to make her a sympathetic babyface because you're asking me that the way she's been presented anyway, this spoiled little girl who grew up to be a hot blonde fitness model power lifter who's presented as having money and all these advantages, and you want me to feel sorry for somebody like that, even though she's being treated the way she's been treated, supposedly, even though she was presented before as being this powerful, spoiled, rich figure who gets anything she wants because she looks good and she has money. You want me to feel sorry for that person. And it's just not, it's a miss, in my opinion. I don't think the crowd is responding to it well. I think they want her to cash it in, but it's just for the sake of the cash in. Like, I agree. I don't think it's being presented very well at all. I think like I said it before, I think her and Chelsea's roles should be reversed. I think Chelsea should be the one in her role, but differently. I just don't think she's being presented well at all. Like I don't see it. And
to your point, this is the brilliance of that, because you made a great point about like the presentation of her as a heel is off the charts. Yes. And it's such a juxtaposition to who she is in real life, right? She's a really accomplished gymnast and actually wasn't like a silver spoon kid or anything like that. Like Tiffany Stratton has worked her way to play the character that she plays as well as she does isn't easy, because it goes against everything she actually is behind the scenes. And to then now put it in a spot where she's done all this great work to put it in our brains that she's the worst. Everything's been handed to her, right? Everything comes easy. It's right to tell that story. And then now handcuff us in a spot where it feels like, oh, she's got to cash in because now we're supposed to like her. They haven't done that. Right. Nia Jax has been, dominant in talking to her in the storyline when it comes to, right? Like, you're not going to cash in on me. I know you're not, till she kind of stood up for herself, but that wasn't a full babyface turn. It didn't feel like that. Nothing changed other than that she was less subservient to Nia Jax.
Yep.
Right. And like, I think you actually are spot on when it comes to that with the Tiffany Stratton thing, because she's so dang talented at being a heel. Let her be the heel. Let her be that, right? Let her play that role. Unless the plan is to try to get her to be a babyface, then you got to tell a different story.
Yep.
You got to tell, and it's not a hard one to tell. She's a world-class gymnast, like, and powerlifter. Like, she's a world-class athlete that worked hard as could be, picked up wrestling quickly because she's a hard-working athlete, not because she's some sort of, you know what I mean? It's easy to tell that story on TV. Like, well, look, I did this all so quick. Why did she do it all so quick? Because she's that dedicated. Yeah. She has that type of an athletic background where if she puts the work in and puts her mind to it, it's going to happen. So you can tell that story, but that is not what we've been presented. And I'm 100% with you when it comes to that one. Okay, let's move on to a crazy one. A match that wasn't a match. A match that was not a match, basically. We've got Orton and Owens. We've got elbow drop through the table. We've got Cowboy Bob t-shirt. That I loved. I loved the Cowboy Bob Orton t-shirt. That, to me, was one of the best things that happened on this entire PLE. It's brilliant. It's something we wouldn't have seen 5 years ago, and it's so in your face and so slimy. And so proof of why Kevin Owens has an issue with not fighting people in parking lots. He basically can't do it. He needs to go to Fighting People in Parking Lots Anonymous. That's all I'm saying, because Kevin Owens does that. He doesn't care. If you're parking, you're in trouble. If he runs into you at CVS, you're in trouble in a parking lot, especially if you've got a bus. Avoid Owens in parking lots. I thought he was going to take him out into the parking lot tonight at some stage. Also, monster shout out to the referee for the stunner bump. We've seen The Rock absolutely launch. We've seen Kevin Nash spit a beer out on a stunner. We've seen a lot of great stunner bumps. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody launched entirely out of the ring by a stunner. He flew out of the ring, and it was just golden. I was like, respect. He's like, this is my big moment. I'm taking the stunner. Megan, I'm going to go to you first. So we don't even really have a match, but we had a fight. And I guess that's what Kevin Owens represents. Is this something we're going to see paid off pretty handily at Survivor Series? And are you thinking something like I Quit or maybe Last Man Standing?
Look, Clark, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really have much to say about this little situation because, Kevin has a way of making me like him, and then he'll do something like this that makes me unlike him all over again. So right now, I am not really effing with Kevin right now. His whole reasoning for doing this, it makes no sense to me. He has this false sense of loyalty, but he doesn't necessarily practice loyalty to those who are loyal to him. Because the one thing about Kevin is if an opportunity comes up, he is definitely going to take that opportunity. So he does not practice what he preaches. Um, but I did see some signs of the old Viper coming back. We saw that when he RKO'd Adam Pearce.
Yep.
So we seeing the Legend Killer. We seeing that side of Randy coming out, which is what I've been praying for. So can we see a best out of three between them two? I can see it. I could definitely see it. I thought Kevin was going to pop up during Cody's match tonight, and surprisingly, he did. So yeah, but I see the mind games that Kevin is playing between the Bob Orton shirt, the Dusty Rhodes shirt, just trying to get into the heads of his former friends and stuff. And I can definitely see, I don't know. I mean, I know Triple H is bringing back a lot of old matches, so I don't know, maybe a First Blood,
That'd be
Buried
cool.
Alive, something nostalgic
Crazy. Yeah,
for them
almost.
too.
And I think you brought up so many great points there, though, when it comes to Kevin Owens. I think he might have the most range in the industry because, like you said,
Yeah.
he can make you love him so much.
That
And then
he
he
can do.
can turn around and it's like the get under your skin. He's like, I call him a paper cut heel.
Yeah.
Like, it's like he's that paper cut where you're like, dang it, that stings. Why'd you do that? Like, it's not, it's brilliant in that sense.
I was on Kevin's side when he was dealing with the whole Elias Ezekiel storyline. I was team Kevin. But even when he was going after Sammy at one point, there's just he's very human in
Yes.
his reaction to things. So it can't come off as over the top, but I guarantee you have met or at least one person who handles situations the exact same way that Kevin Owens do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. And the way I look at it too, the brilliance of it with KO is, like you said, he's so human that even when he's the heel, it makes it easier to forgive him. I almost think it's kind of a detriment on his career because he's too easy to plug and play into any situation.
No.
At times, I think he could be even bigger than he currently is, which the guy's a Hall of Famer in my eyes. Yeah. I think no doubt about it, right? There's a reason you think Stone Cold Steve Austin didn't pick him, right? Like, I mean, there's a reason.
Good point.
But like, because he's so good at everything, it's like you can play him in any role. Mm-hmm. And the versatility almost is why I think he won't be a guy that we're looking back like, oh, he had 10 WWE champions, right? Whatever it is. But the rest of his resume is so clean and so believable, no matter whether it's heel or babyface. It's just quality work. And I really do appreciate that. Especially to pull the flip like he has in this last month. To go Cowboy Bob Orton, to be that sadistic. And it's not many people were not like, well, you were just friends. Mm-hmm. With Kevin Owens, it was like, oh man, he made him snap. They got us again. Yeah. And I definitely respect that. I'm going to ask you as well about it, Anthony, because you and I talked a lot when we were watching the show earlier on Zoom about that spot with the elbow drop. Was it supposed to be a frog splash? Or do you think it was elbow drop the whole way? Also, what a great spot over there to dive off that guardrail like that, the setup, everything about it, the ultimate culmination. I enjoyed it. But I do want to get your actual opinion. Do you think the plan was frog splash, he audibled the elbow drop, or do you think it was elbow drop the whole way?
I think it was elbow drop the whole way, just based on the table spot, because it wanted to be sold as they were both knocked out. Whether that was foreshadowing to a last man standing down the road, it's entirely possible if that's the direction they're going to go. Kevin Owens is one of those performers that you love to hate. He's so good at it. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of like Roddy Piper. He didn't need the title to be over, but he was able to get things over. And I feel like that is what KO is. He's one of those performers that you may not realize how great he is until when you look at his whole body of work when everything's said and done. I mean, we recognize it, but there's a portion of the audience that doesn't. I love they're going more sadistic with Kevin Owens. It reminds me a little of his Ring of Honor heel run. The little things that he's doing, the psychology doing it, wearing the Dusty shirt, a dig at Cody, wearing the Bob Orton one, a dig. I was kind of hoping he would have went for Randy's arm because Bob's famous for the never healed broken arm during his run. So I'm a little surprised he didn't go for the arm. But I think this will definitely continue on through Survivor Series, possibly even the Rumble. We'll see where this goes. Maybe Saturday night's main event. Maybe that's where they'll go. I think a last man standing is a possibility. I used to love the name that Ring of Honor used to call Fight Without Honor, and Kevin Owens did a great one with El Generico. But I could see an unsanctioned match between the two of them because it would play
be cool. Like lights out. Yeah,
it plays into the whole he's dangerous. I don't want to put you in the ring with him. This is what I was afraid was going to happen type of deal.
Okay, I was thinking about this though. Now that he's done the Cowboy Bob Orton shirt and the Dusty shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Does he not, if they end up somehow in a triple threat match here down the road, wear a shirt that just says, "My dad wasn't famous"? Does he not don that t-shirt?
That'd be pretty cool.
I would love that. Like,
I could definitely see him wearing Mr. Steen's son or something like that.
Yeah, something just to get just to totally got him back. Like, I think that would be actually hilarious.
Or whatever whatever profession his father was. Say, my dad was a dentist or whatever his profession was.
That's like the only problem with it is it would almost be too baby faced. Like, it would you couldn't help but laugh at it. Like, if
he's the heel you love to hate.
Yeah, you're like, dang it. That's pretty good. Okay. Let's talk about the U.S. title match contested outside of the United States this time. It's a triple threat. We've got Carmelo Hayes, who doesn't miss unless it was today or some other times. He's missed a few times. And then we've also got Andrade El Idolo, my favorite thing ever. LA Knight calling him Andrade El Idiot. It just gets me. It's just golden. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's corny. It's a corny joke, but it's clever. I don't care. It cracks me up every single time he says it. And Los Angeles Knight himself, the United States champion, he retains. This was a really cool match. It was one that I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I have to see the results of the 7-game series that turned into a triple threat match. But as soon as the match happened, the execution was off the charts. And that finish was no joke. That finish was really cool. I liked it. The way it was set up. It was unique. It was innovative. Something we haven't really seen. I enjoyed the finish. Ignacio, I'm going to go to you, though, and get your thoughts on it real quick. How did you like it? Obviously, it sounds like you didn't like the finish as much as I did, but what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, real quick, because we're already misbehaving here. No, I love the finish. The finish was my favorite part of the match, but look, it was just, I think I mentioned it last week. If y'all want to go back and watch the show last week, anybody who's viewing it was the Carmelo and Andrade show, I think. And I think their feud has overshadowed whatever them bringing in LA Knight into it. And I think the fans want more of a conclusion to that more than, what LA Knight's bringing to the table, which is they got LA Knight in this situation because he's the U.S. champion and he doesn't have anybody else to face because they haven't built anybody else to face. And they had these two guys that were having great matches week in and week out for 6-7 weeks in a row. So let's make one of them number one contender for the U.S. title because that's the easiest thing to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I would have rather have them have LA Knight in another program with somebody who, like Baron Corbin, who came off a hot run out of NXT, and they could have repackaged him somehow to have a feud with LA Knight. And then the winner of this program with Andrade and Carmelo could have challenged the winner of LA Knight or the winner of that program, but they didn't do that. They had a hot program between two guys, and LA Knight, who had nobody to defend his title against or nobody to program with. So let's just throw LA Knight in this mix. And I just think at the end of the day, he was the third party. And I would have rather either Andrade or Carmelo pin LA Knight to become champion. That way they can conclude their feud, but this time have the title involved. And I think that would have been better.
I think that's actually a very fair assessment, especially in hindsight. It's always 2020, but I think you're onto something there as far as the execution was concerned, especially considering how over LA Knight is with the crowd. He still is. You saw it, the shades in the crowd, multiple people at this show shown in the crowd wearing LA Knight gear, LA Knight signs, all of that. He is still that over. It's an execution thing, not a charisma issue, I guess is the way I would put it. But let's get on to that main event of the evening, because dang, did I put us against the clock? I'm supposed to do an ad read, so I'm going to do that like lightning quick right now.
Woo.
If you have never checked out Demand Progress Plus, sorry, Megan, I didn't mean to cut you off like that. Use Watch Progress 1. That's our code. You're going to get 50% off your first month on Demand Progress Plus, the home of Progress, Defy, and more. Tons of good stuff. If you're watching this show, we know you're a wrestling fan. It's one of the best libraries in the game. Check it out. We've also got live and new shows, things to look forward to. Keep looking forward to it and keep enjoying it. But let's keep it rolling here and get on to our main event. Let's talk about the biggest heel in the business, Cody Rhodes against Gunther, not Roman Reigns, not this time. It's Gunther and it's Cody Rhodes for the, what did I call it earlier? The Sao Dynamite ring, diamond ring. Yeah. It's the Crown Jewel Championship. You get a ring. You don't get to bring the title home. That's just you're basically renting it without an option to buy. Cody wins with the Bret Hart finish, and
that was good.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the match. I don't know though. The stakes just didn't feel high enough to me. And for a match like Cody Gunther, given the backstory with the two Rumble confrontations, I would have loved to see this happen a different way. I didn't hate it. It was a high quality match. It was a main event quality match. It was very well wrestled. The stakes just didn't feel high enough. That would be my issue. Megan, I'm going to go to you first on this one. What were your thoughts on the match? Cody obviously wins. He's going to have that ring. Does he go full MJF though and start using it? That's the real question.
Well, I'm gonna just keep it short because I know we are running out of time. I'm just happy Cody won. That's all I have to say about it. I mean, it's like you said, there's history behind them too, but you didn't really ride on it. They also had an opportunity to kind of have Kevin kind of, interfere in it, and they did not use it. The ending was way too clean for me, way too nice. So just happy that Cody won.
Cody gets the win. That's completely fair. Ignacio, I'm going to go to you next. Are you equally happy that Cody won? Or are you... No, you're for Gunther.
No, because Gunther could have used the win. He needed it more than Cody. Cody didn't need the win. And the way they had the finish, I like the finish. I love the match. I love the finish. And I love that they made reference to it was a Bret Hart finish because, Gunther made the insult to Bret Hart and, come full circle, he lost to a Bret Hart finish. I love that. That was great. But I just think Gunther needed the win could have used the win more than Cody. Like, I love the match. I love the finish, but I just think Gunther could have, because Cody, it would have been easy to say that it would have been easy to do Cody make the mistake and he lost because of a mistake. And that was it. That could have been easily done.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think Megan made a great point about the Kevin Owens part of it too. On top of that, I didn't mention that earlier, but like it is interesting in hindsight. You feel a little bit robbed, like, oh, so they wrote Kevin Owens out of the main event with the way it went down with him and Randy. Huh.
I thought it was kind of expected.
Right.
So, but I think that's what it is. I think a lot of Paul's bookings had been kind of predictable, so we kind of expected for Kevin to be involved in it, and for him to not be, it was like, well,
it was like a little bit of a letdown.
It was a very happily ever after type of ending for Cody, which we know in his aspects, it never lasts as long. So
it is interesting to me, by the way, too. I just thought about this, and before I give it to you, Anthony, because I know when it comes to history and stuff, you love this kind of stuff. Is this like the third or fourth Bret Hart finish we've seen in Saudi? Because remember, the Brock finish was Bret Hart as well with Cody. Was that not in Saudi Arabia? Am I wrong on that? And then wasn't there one more that was very similar Bret Hart finish on the early Saudi shows? I think it's like the third one where they've used the Bret Hart finish at one of the Saudi Arabia shows. I'm not 100% sure on that. Either way, though, I do gotta obviously get your opinion on the results of the match. I mean, the concept as a whole, we've thoroughly broken that one down pretty much. But
you mean the Airbnb championship? That will be converted into a ring for you to go home with a souvenir. No, I loved the promo packages for this, because back in the day, they would do NWA champion against WWF champion, and it's been a while since we've seen champion versus champion, and those matches would always end in a clunky, disqualification or a draw. So you had a definitive winner. I understood why you're keeping KO out of this, keeping KO and Randy, and then you'll eventually revisit that with them. I liked it. It was hard hitting. There's obviously history there with them in the Rumbles, especially 23 when Cody returned and Gunther was running the gamut. So I understood all that. I did like the finish. It was reminiscent of the WrestleMania 8 Intercontinental title match with Bret Hart and Roddy Piper. And that's famous for, Roddy didn't like taking pinfalls. Bret's one of the few people that Roddy went, I will take the pinfall for him. And I thought the match protected Gunther too. It made him look strong the entire match. It had Cody win by fluke, which protects Gunther, and it also lays in the seeds down the road. If you want to turn Cody heel, that he went to his head, hey, I got this ring, I defeated the unstoppable champion in Roman. You can kind of play this up if you wanted to go full Homelander down the road, which will not happen until after Mania. But yeah, I thought it was a solid match. It was a great way to end the show, unlike the opener, which was a dud, which we already covered.
Yeah, I do agree. It was a very solid match, and I like what you said there. Obviously, I understand where you're coming from on the Homelander thing. Not just yet, but down the road, I actually think, man, that could really land and be something that is must watch. No doubt about that. Now, by the way, to your point, it's really funny because I always forget that the Bret Hart Piper finish is the first one. Because when I think of that finish, I think of Stone Cold Steve Austin Survivor Series at the Garden. With the $1 Million Dream.
The sleeper. Yeah.
The $1 Million finish with the $1 Million Dream. Same finish.
Same finish.
Survivor Series at the Garden.
Brett,
it's definitely one that I fondly remember. Okay, seriously though, with that, we had a great show and somehow we beat the buzzer. I've never been more proud of us. Thank you so much, everyone that tuned in. Monster thumbs up. Smash the like and subscribe if you haven't already, because it helps us out a ton. And we really appreciate everyone that tuned in. Have an awesome Saturday. Happy Saturday for that matter. Check us out every single day, same place, same time. Obviously, with the time change in the US, we're back to normal. Tomorrow it'll be noon Pacific. That's 3 on the East Coast. That's 8 o'clock over in the UK. And of course, 9 a.m. for my friends in Hawaii. Thank you so much. As always, on behalf of me, Clark Taylor, Anthony Ricciardi, Megan, and Ignacio, thank you. Have a good night.